Welcome. Great to have you with us on this Tuesday. Saquon Barkley probably will not play against your beloved 49ers on Thursday night. It sets up perfectly for you. It's obvious out of the gate you're playing a weak schedule.
That's right.
I didn't think you're supposed to win the NFC, get to the NFC title game, and get handed the schedule.
Yeah, they got some tough games coming up here. I got the Cowboys
Where?
October 8th. Got Dallas at home.
Rams also ran, who, by the way, kicked a field goal.
Yeah,
can anybody on the planet
if there
explain?
No, there was 35 seconds on the clock, maybe. Then you can
onside kick. You never know.
Yeah, but when there's 4
seconds,
seconds,
last play of the game.
No, that made no sense. Absolutely none.
Last year on Thursday Night Football, we had the classic game between the Colts and the Broncos, which set the game back 70 years. That was
Al Michaels' credit. He said that.
Without question, one of the worst football games I've seen.
That was bad.
Last night also falls into the category of one of the worst football games I've seen. Between the Steelers and the Browns. That game.
That was bad.
Okay. Let's give the Steeler defense credit. Mm-hmm. They get the two. Highsmith and Watt both get touchdowns. Watt played a great game.
Yeah.
Again. And Highsmith played a great game.
Yeah.
But that game was a horror show to watch.
You're right.
I mean, when Kenny Pickett hits 50% of his passes, and he's the best quarterback out there, Deshaun Watson, if you are a Cleveland Browns fan about now, you have to be looking around saying, what the heck did we do?
Yeah.
They mortgaged the future of the franchise to acquire this guy. Track, okay? This is not an incentive-laden contract.
No.
A guaranteed contract. And he defines subpar.
Yeah.
To not only mention the baggage off the field.
Big time. Yeah, and you gave him a guarantee contract through everything. Every part of his deal's guaranteed.
Every part's guaranteed. Yeah.
And
they front-loaded the front. When I mean front-loaded, made sure it was a minimum salary to start because he was going to have to miss 11 games on suspension. Mm-hmm. And you watch, last year, the point was made, and I think anybody making the point was justified. Well, 11 games, rusty.
Right.
Okay, wait till next year. Well, next year is here, and he still looks bad.
Yeah.
It's here, and he still looks bad.
Yeah.
It is amazing. Let's give credit to Seattle. Seattle, to its credit, figured out the shelf life of Russell Wilson and dealt him. Houston saw the baggage, and they were more than happy to deal him. I realize that they talk about a stat of quarterbacks leading fourth quarter comebacks. Now, that's a mixed bag stat. If you really have any kind of if you're not somebody who's just simply takes it at face value and examines it at depth. How often are some of those games one where the quarterback was a big reason why you were behind to begin with? That never is taken into account. But they take over last night, down 26-22. And Joe Buck makes the comment about X amount of comebacks in his career, but hasn't had one since 2019. Really? If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you have to be sitting there and your best player unfortunately had a terrible injury.
Yeah.
Gruesome. And your quarterback is not good enough to make up for it.
No.
I mean, they are now headed down a path where they can end up 5-12 because they won't have Nick Chubb. Chubb is critical. Watson needed Nick Chubb as the bailout on that offense. Now, if it's going to be put squarely on his shoulders, no way.
No.
It is amazing how his game has slid backwards. And maybe it's in conjunction with all the off-the-field problems.
I think that could be part of it. I think the other part of it could be just how good of a quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, head coach Bill O'Brien is. And
Sure.
I think he made him a lot better, and you didn't really get to see what Watson could do without O'Brien, and I think that's part of it. There's no doubt about it, and yeah, he's regressed in a big way. The other thing that's concerning, I think, really, when you look at players in the NFL, the history, the exception of Trent Williams, I think he came back, best offensive lineman in football.
Sure.
But anybody else that has sat out a year or missed more than a year, they're not the same player. Yeah. We saw it with Le'Veon Bell. These guys are not, when you get away from the game and you get away from the, contact, it's big trouble. I think we've just not seen guys be able to readjust. And unfortunately, that's part of it too when it comes to Watson. With Nick Chubb, my goodness, you're sick to your stomach just thinking about it and seeing it, and it's awful. It really is. And I think big picture, it's a big reason why in the offseason these running backs came together and said, "Hey, we need to get paid."
Yeah,
because they get hit more than anybody, and it's a spot there where. These guys, look, their shelf lives may not be very long to begin with, and then something like this happens. These guys deserve the contracts.
Yeah, you'd like to see it, but let's be realistic.
No,
okay,
it's not what it used to be. No,
but you have to be realistic. I mean, they offer you, and nobody else is going to offer you. I mean, Watson gets a guaranteed contract with Cleveland.
Well, yeah,
is not worth it, but he's a quarterback.
He's a quarterback, exactly. Yeah.
So obviously the Browns, they're not, you're paid what ownership thinks you're worth.
And that's the same with the Giants with Barkley. It's not paying him, and now you see really what's going to happen at the end of the year.
They take more hits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they handle the ball more than anybody else.
Sure.
I mean, it's like wide receiver will get targeted 5 to 9 times in a game. Meanwhile, a running back is involved in 20 to 25 plays a game and taking hits on a lot of them. So it was awful what happened to Nick Chubb.
Yeah,
awful. You don't want to see anybody get hurt.
No.
Steelers can't run the ball. Steelers can't throw the ball.
That offense is in trouble.
Kind of sums up the offense.
That offense is bad. And that's
14 points on touchdowns by the defense. Defense played great.
Yeah, incredible. And Watts played great all year. Had 3 sacks in week 1.
Watts played great
since his whole career, there's no doubt. But all-time sack leader in Pittsburgh now. 81.5 sacks. Well, 82 now or whatever it is. But absolutely. I think Watts, the franchise part of that defense, which has been incredible. But, there's big concern right now on offense with this team. I think you could look at week 1 and say, hey, are the 49ers just that good? Now you're looking at it after week 2 saying, hey, this offense has some problems. Kenny Pickett has some problems, and this running game has major issues. Receiver, Pickens has played well, but this team needs a lot more.
No, they need a lot more.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
And can't run the ball.
No, that was, and you look at what Najee Harris did last year. You felt like he was going to take that leap.
Pickett has happy feet.
Yeah, big time. You're seeing a lot of. You go back to when he played at Pitt first 2 years. You looked around and wondered. He had so many flaws, and then he came back, and you wonder what on earth did this guy do to make that transition as well as he did? And now you feel like, I don't want to say he's back to square one by any means, but I think he's back to having some of those flaws he had his first 2 years at Pitt.
Speed of the game.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, absolutely.
Is big. And when you don't have a great offensive line, and the Steelers don't have a great offensive line.
No, not anymore.
You now sit there and you make decisions quicker than you want to. And that's where that's when I'm talking about speed of the game. It's not just how fast the other team runs and so forth, but how quickly they make you make decisions. And right now, the decision-making part is not a strong suit for him.
No.
Deshaun Watson, I don't know where he's throwing the football. I don't know why he's doing it. I mean, because we had on the show Friday Peter King.
Yeah.
and he covered the Bengals and the Browns, and he said, Steve, I kept seeing him. He kept throwing passes into the ground, like 3 feet in front of receivers. He says, I don't understand what I'm seeing with him. And I said, Peter, I don't know what I'm seeing with him, period.
No.
You could excuse last year as rust. Okay, now it's become a pattern where it's a problem.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that was you win the game. And fortunately for the Steelers and their fans, the defense got off the bus. The defense played great.
Incredible. Yeah.
Really did. Slowed down the run. The pass defense was great. Nice to see Joey Porter Jr. get the last play where he was able to knock, and end the game at that point. I thought that was really great. But and the Steelers, obviously Boswell's a heck of a kicker. So, I mean, they have some pluses with this team, but they're also in the division. I mean, it's shaping up again. Guess who's the best team in the division? Baltimore. Right? Cincinnati's struggling. Cleveland's struggling. And the Steelers are sitting there at 1-1, and guess what? Right now, it's good enough for second place.
Yeah. And Cincinnati, I think you have a lot of uncertainty with Burrow, and not with his talent.
But his
injury. Yeah, absolutely. And that's
big problem.
The concern. And this is a guy that has played as good as anyone at the quarterback position, not named Mahomes, in these last 3 years. I include Jalen Hurts last year, but I think the last a couple of years, look at the consistency that Burrow has had. Yeah, he's been incredible, but that calf is definitely bothering him. First game, he struggled dramatically. Last game, and played a little better, but still struggling.
Well, he's trying to fight through it because he feels it's probably best for the team.
Yeah.
But, geez, he could use a couple more weeks off.
I agree.
All right, now let's turn our attention to Mel Tucker. He's out. Now, is he still on the payroll at this moment? Without pay, yes. He's still part of the directory. But they have that October 5th meeting coming up, and Michigan State has already indicated they want to terminate him for cause. This is going to end up being one of the truly curious cases of, and let's be consistent with what we've talked about since day one, since he was hired. He was the head coach for 1 year at Colorado. And by the way, it was under 500.
Yeah.
Okay. The first year he's here, it's the pandemic, I got it. They bring in all the transfers, including, let's face it, Kenneth Walker, we're finding out now in the NFL level.
Yeah.
Exponentially more valuable than anybody could have realized. And they have that great second year with all the transfers. Okay. Well, credit where credit's due. And then they give him a 10-year, $95 million deal. What are you doing?
Everybody stared at everybody that day, and I just didn't understand it.
I realized Matt Ishbia, who's now the owner of the Phoenix Suns, who spent, what was it, $4.23 billion to get the Suns?
To get Suns, yep.
Okay. Fronted a lot of that money for Michigan State. But when he got the contract, Jack Ham and I were talking, we were baffled by the whole thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were. And it just made no sense.
Okay, so here's a guy whose head coaching career was under 500 at Colorado, was under 500 his first year. They have, quote, a magical year in 2021 with all those transfers coming in. And you give him a 10-year deal at $95 million based on that track record? And I'm not talking out of turn here. This is not a 2020 hindsight conversation. As you and I have talked about for years. This is the exact same conversation we had when he got the contract. So nothing's ever changed. Nope. And last year,
the only thing that's changed is the performance on the field. Yeah.
They didn't look good.
Absolutely.
And it's at the point now where you had to ask a question. Where's your $95 million best spent? In a collective?
Yeah.
I know Keon Coleman's playing at Florida State. I know Peyton Thorne's the starting quarterback at Auburn.
Auburn, yep.
Transfer portal works both ways.
Oh, yeah.
He is due $77 million more in his contract. This will go to court.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt.
And the reason it will go to court is he will try to recoup some of the money in a settlement. But the contract made no sense the day he signed it.
Not one bit.
I mean, made no sense.
No.
We're looking around at each other like, what the heck are they doing?
It's one thing in like Major League Baseball where you see the talent, you want to extend them as quick as possible at the cheapest rate you can extend them at. Right. You know, like the Pirates have done that, Phillies have done that, but this made no sense. This set the bar for contracts.
Other coaches need to thank Mel Tucker because they were able to get more money because
no doubt about it.
Mel's deal's out there. It's like, hey, you got 10
what the heck?
Look at my track record. What do you think I should get?
And you just look at the games they played out of conference where they were getting blown out. You're looking and thinking, what are they paying this guy for? And it's we were baffled from day one, and I'm still baffled to this day. And now, obviously, it's a mistake. I mean, it's clear as day. But I didn't understand it at the time, and I don't understand it now.
So.
And Jimbo Fisher won national championships. I understand that one. He overpaid, yes, but I understand where you're going on that one. I understand where you're going on Nick Saban. I understand where you're going with these top 10 coaches. I did not understand Mel Tucker one bit.
I didn't understand Jimbo Fisher either.
With Fisher, you're at least a national champion and a pedigree there. And Bobby Bowden thought the world of him. So you have... they overpay. I think they made a mistake, absolutely. But I think you at least have that.
I will go back to what I said the day he was hired. He was running Florida State into the ground.
Sure was.
And he was looking for a landing spot.
Absolutely. He was looking for a way out.
A&M gave it to
no doubt.
Okay,
it was a mistake.
Then they gave him an extension.
Oh, yeah.
Who was Texas A&M bidding against?
Yeah, nobody.
Themselves.
Nobody. My point, though, he won a national championship. You at least have that. Mel Tucker, what resume did he have to get $95 million?
And who was the head coach of the older players when they were recruited?
Yeah.
It's Bobby Bowden.
Bobby Bowden, yep.
Grime?
Mm-hmm.
Now, he recruited Jameis
Winston, yep.
But, all right, so Mel Tucker has released a statement. Okay. MSU knew about information on which it supposedly relies to end my contract since at least March of 2023. The complaint was filed in December 22. Yet only after Ms. Tracy and potentially others leaked the confidential investigation report to the press did MSU suddenly decide this same information warrants termination. MSU is punishing me for Ms. Tracy's leak, which violated MSU's rules regarding confidentiality of the investigation. There's more to it. It's rather long. I can only conclude that MSU does not care about my rights, the truth, or its future liability for policing its employees' private lives. Ms. Tracy manufactured false allegations against me. MSU ignored its own policies in pursuing a biased investigation into them. MSU was supposedly going to let that flawed process play out before deciding to do what to do, but is now reneged on even that. While this miscarriage of justice has devastated me and my family, I find solace in knowing that the investigator concluded that we had a personal relationship. Ms. Tracy expressed consent to every facet of our relationship. I look forward to one day obtaining discovery against MSU, including the trustees and the athletic department, to see what they really knew and said about the matter, as well as best motives in handling the entire investigative process. Well, that tells me you are getting sued. Okay? MSU now claims that after having already terminated my employment, it is committed to completing the formal grievance process. That's kind of bizarre, huh?
Mm-hmm.
A process that expressly calls for confidentiality, which MSU publicly acknowledged failed to provide to determine if I violated the school policy. The public can decide if any of these things rings true or fair. Now, there's more in the statement in here. He said MSU sent notice of intent to terminate just days after I emailed Alan Haller requesting a medical leave under the Family and Medical Leave Act for a serious health condition. It's a mess.
Yeah, it's been a mess there.
It's obvious when you read the last part. It's like when you're requesting, quote, discovery, that means you are suing.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
So they'll sue. He'll sue.
Yep.
And it's a mess.
Yeah, it's been a mess for years in that place.
Yeah.
It really has. And it's, part of it is their own doing, as much as I hate to say it. Sure. That's it really is.
Yeah. And you just look at it and you say to, I didn't get it. Okay, when they hired him, I was like, okay, all right, and I see, all right.
Yeah, I think you take the
nice
chance.
Reputation with the NFL.
I was going to say, the reputation, I think, is the biggest thing.
In the NFL as a defensive coordinator with Jacksonville and so forth. Okay, all right. Yeah, 1 year as a head coach at Colorado. They're 5-7, which pre-Dion is one of the better records they had.
Yeah.
Okay.
After the late 90s, at least, for sure.
I mean, the first year is the pandemic, so you can write that off. Second year, it's all the transfers, but the portal works both ways. Sure. I remember doing this show a year ago, so we'll go back a year. I said the portal works both ways. When Michigan State came up, I said they got 9 guys out of the portal this year. They had 20 the year before. They lost 25 out of the portal. I said, when you lose 25 guys out of the portal, something isn't right.
Something's going on. Yeah. Big problem.
Right? Something's not right. Now, some of them, look, I understand if somebody's not a starter, they're trying to move up.
Yeah,
I understand if somebody's a walk-on, they want to go someplace. I understand all that. But 25 is a gigantic number. Plus, of course, the number of guys that were suspended last year. Now, they were able to get some of those guys back this year. But it's just...
Yeah, it's not making...
Well, there's a lot of gray area with this. And they announced yesterday that their intent to terminate with cause. Well, if you're going to do this October 5th thing, why didn't you just announce it that day?
Yeah.
Why announce it today?
Why announce it that? Yeah, I don't understand it. And that's... Yeah, you're basically creating a distraction for, what, 3 weeks, 2 weeks? And at
17
least,
days until October 5th.
And that's... You've taken what has been, I think, a very respectable program at Michigan State, and you've turned it into a reputation that is not good. You've turned it into a situation where, we just said it, it's a mess entirely, and it doesn't look like it's a mess that can be cleaned up anytime soon.
But they've had a lot of... Mark D'Antonio did a really, really good job.
Yeah.
But... if you really look back on the program, they've had a lot of off-the-field problems.
Quite a few, sure.
Right? And I don't mean subtle off-the-field problems. They've had some off-the-field problems you look back and go, yeesh. Right? And I'm not talking about Nasser. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about football players getting into trouble. And the reason I say that is Penn State normally plays them the last game of the season. There have been a couple times they've played them in October. All right. Normally plays them at the end of the season. And I'll sit there and I'll go through personnel. And then, okay, well, why isn't he playing? So you'll Google it. Right? Article. caught in the downtown incident, and it was like, I mean, I don't mean something that's a misdemeanor. Like, oh, okay. Oh, what about this guy? Involved in the same incident, right? What about this guy? Something else that happened in the summertime. What about this guy? Suspended from the team in January. I mean, I kept going through. This is year after year after year. And I remember D'Antonio got angry about it when he was asked about it by somebody. I mean, obviously, I've never talked to him about it. And he said, and basically said, no, you know, we don't have problems. And I remember, and I'm paraphrasing. I mean, you know, that's about what he said. No, it's been made too much of. But I sit there and I research teams because Penn State's going to play them. And you start going through, okay, why isn't he on here? I had this guy on my roster last year. He's supposed to be back this year. I'm looking around like he's not playing. Why? And of course, my intent when I go to look to see if why they're not playing is, did they get hurt? Right? And then you sit there and you Google, Bing, whatever search engine you want to use. So they, oh, really? And that happened more often than not with Michigan State over the years. They have had a lot of off-the-field incidents. Despite what he says, when he makes that, I realize out of 125 guys. Okay,
yeah, you're going to have some. Sure.
You know, something is going to happen. I understand that. But they had like way more than anybody else. You sit there, oh, okay. So even though D'Antonio had some great years, got him into the college football playoff one year, Rose Bowls, things like that. Credit where credit's due. They did some good things. And when Penn State was trying to come out of sanctions, Michigan was kind of floating around a little bit. They kind of they took advantage of it and filled the gap. But that's, it's interesting. Again, you're not going to have 125 angels.
It's not. No, that's going to happen.
I understand that. Okay? You know, you're not going to. Right? Are you going to have some off-the-field problems? Every coach dreads the 2 a.m. phone call. Every coach dreads it. But then when you start going through and, you know, you're going through a season and you're asking, okay, why isn't he in? Why isn't he in? Why isn't he in? So you want to look it up, make sure. Okay, hey, he hurt an ankle. He's been out the last, you know, whatever. You think yourself, that's probably a high ankle sprain. That's the reason why, you know. But more often than not, I'd look, no, got suspended today. Got suspended. Like, yay. Problem. I know Iowa's coming in here, and of course, you know.
Yeah, I was going to compare that. I think Iowa's had, they're kind of in the similar spot there. They've had
the gambling thing,
quite a few.
The gambling thing is interesting.
Yeah.
But so far, I mean, Jason, it's the only state.
Yeah.
I mean, please, I'm not going to sit there and indict Iowa and Iowa State.
Right.
Because you're telling me this is not happening anywhere else in the country?
Is. Look at the NFL. It certainly is happening everywhere else in the country.
And you're telling me it's only isolated to football, baseball, wrestling, and men's basketball?
No.
Really?
Not a chance. They've had off-field issues, though, before that. And I think it's quite a few situations there.
Now, how Iowa handled the Noah Shannon situation brought with it a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Because he was open with everybody about, and he was not indicted for anything. He was not arrested for anything. But he made sure he told everybody about it, and the NCAA in the end said, that's nice, you're done. Okay. All right. Yeah. So much for self-reporting.
Exactly.
I mean, boy, that does a lot to really encourage people to want to self-report.
Exactly.
But I was so taken aback by Iowa saying, Noah Shannon's going to media day. I remember his name comes up. I looked at it, I go, because you get the list of the guys who are going to be there. I thought, what the heck are they taking him for? I mean, all I'm going to do is ask him about the gambling probe. Then I got to talk to him about the football team. He's going to put him in a tough spot. It's going to put Ferentz in a tough spot, having to answer questions about him being there. And then he pulls his name out. And Ferentz says, wow, great leadership on his part. And he says, I'm sitting there like, Kirk, no offense. No. Hey, why was his name on the list to begin with? Part of your job, I mean, you have 125 guys. You only have to send 3 to Indianapolis. Okay? You had other options.
Yeah.
So it wasn't part of your job as the head coach or as a staff or somebody on that campus to say, when they said, hey, this is who we're proposing to bring. Yeah. No, we can't bring Noah.
No,
can't
protect
do it.
Him.
Right.
The best as you can.
Right.
Yeah.
So now the kid has to come out, or he's a young man. The young man has to come out and say, no, I shouldn't do this because of this, that, and oh, no, he's really gutsy brave. Like, gutsy brave? Okay, over here in the back, why did you put his name on the list? Did you just find out about it when he announced he wasn't going to go? Of course not.
No.
And I see baffling decisions like this all the time where you sit back and shake your head like, what are they doing here? Now, the other 2 Iowa guys, I think, have had charges reduced on them.
Yes.
Including the backup kicker, Austin Bloom. Their charges have been reduced. I think the Iowa State players have also had some charges reduced. And you can see they're suffering right now in terms of personnel.
Oh, goodness.
The quarterback isn't playing. Ohio University just beat them 10-7.
10-7.
Kirk Ferentz will have his press conference today. He'll talk about the injuries they have. 2 running backs, Patterson and Johnson, not listed on the depth chart, and Luke Lachey, their leading receiver with 10 catches through 3 games, is also not listed.
Yeah.
He was in a boot on the sideline on Saturday. So so we'll get more on that. Very nice. The Ohio University win over Iowa State was 10-7. South Alabama beat Oklahoma State. And I think it needs to give everyone perspective about how difficult winning is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And was Illinois on Saturday a work of art? No. But they go on the road, and James, with 10 minutes to go in the game, is up 30-7. He starts pulling players out, and they win 30-13. Right? Oklahoma State lost to South Alabama. Ohio University beat Iowa State. Texas and Wyoming are tied in the 4th quarter. I know everybody wants to see 63-10, which I completely understand.
Alabama
and you're trying to evaluate where you are. Hey, you're running the ball well enough. Penn State wants to run the ball better. Did you catch the ball well enough? No, there were some drops in that game. Okay. Did Drew miss a couple himself? Yeah, of course he did. Defense? Well, they played well.
Yeah.
So you're looking to see across the board improvement moving forward and getting better every week. So that part I understand. But it was a great, look, you go on the road, you won against a Power 5 team in the conference. Okay, now you got to come back.
That's your first road game, too. I think that's another big part of it.
Now you come home, you got this game.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at, and I brought this up with you yesterday because you seem to encourage conversation on penalties. It's something about your own personal life. I don't know what that means. Boston College loses by 2 to Florida State.
Yeah.
Florida State hangs on a day where the self-inflicted wounds of penalties, 18 against Boston College. Colorado State loses in double overtime to Colorado and commits 17 penalties in the process. Self-inflicted wounds. Tennessee doesn't look good against Florida. They had double-digit penalties in that game,
terrible.
right? Self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah, big time.
We are at a point in college football where, for the most part, the margin of error is closed over the years. Georgia won by 10 over South Carolina at home.
Mm-hmm. They're down 11 in that game, too. Yeah.
24-14, they win.
Yeah, needed 21 unanswered.
Yeah. Right. They won at home. Credit where credit's due.
Mm-hmm.
But just like their game at Missouri last year, they had to find a way to win. People seem to forget that game at Missouri last year for some reason. Well, this is so unusual.
Everybody looks at what they did to Oregon, what they did to TCU, what they did to Tennessee. And absolutely.
Right. And they found it, with their credit, found a way to win. Florida State won by 2. Texas is tied in the fourth quarter with Wyoming at home. There may not have been a team in the top grouping that was upset and knocked out, but a lot of them had to fight to the finish to get something done on Saturday. Now, this week, a lot of big games. Penn State, Iowa, Ohio State, Notre Dame. So there you go. And that's big. So it's a big week for Penn State. The whiteout game. I think I talked about this with you yesterday about it's amazing how everybody does this. If you were to convince 60,000 people to wear white, that's incredible, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
And you're still 50,000 short of the capacity. Okay? Well, how about if we can get 80,000 to do it? You're still 30,000 short of the capacity. And that's getting 80,000 people to do it. The fact that you can get all 110,000 people to do it, what does that tell you about the fan base? You know, wanting to be a part of it, their passion for it. And I know people talk about, their record in the whiteout. Well, it's because, but a lot of times it's a Michigan or Ohio State. It's the biggest game on the home schedule. Now this particular year, there'll be obviously one in November people are looking at, but it's one of the bigger games in the home schedule. Penn State's won their last 3. Beat Michigan, beat Auburn, beat Minnesota. They've won their last 3 whiteout games. So, yeah. It's amazing how it's come about. It's been remarkable. And I'll tell you right now, when you walk into the booth and you look down, because remember, we're outside from 6 o'clock. In this case, it'll be 6 o'clock to almost 7 o'clock.
Yep.
So then we'll walk back in. And when you walk in the booth, the vast majority of the crowd is now already in their seats. Because we're about a half hour before kickoff. And when you walk in, it's a remarkable sight. It's a remarkable sight. And I might take a moment to walk into the tunnel before I then make the turn to go upstairs. Because I did that. Jack and I were walking in, and the vast majority of the crowd was already seated for West Virginia. And I stopped. I said to Chuck, I said, check that. I said, look at that. Because it's not, we're always up in the booth. We've never really looked at it from field level before because we've always done the show over at the Jordan Center and walked in outside and then in and up. Because we now do the show outside the tunnel, we now have to walk into the tunnel and have the ground view of what the players see when they come out. No wonder they get a lot of recruits off this game. Wow. Something else. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing like it. I think, to me, the atmosphere on Saturday night will be the best atmosphere that you'll see in college football all year. And that's, there's nothing like the whiteout. Very high credit to Guido and everybody else involved with what they did to create this. It's been just an incredible atmosphere for almost 20 years now. And it's just been something that has really brought college football as a whole here. I think you look at what Penn State fans are going to come to every game. They're some of the best fans. They showed that in the early 2000s when this team was struggling. There were still 107,000 in those those stands. So they're going to be there no matter what. But I think it just brings college football, the national landscape, into Happy Valley that day completely.
That's why I've done Scarlet outs, Maize outs,
Blackouts.
Orange outs, blackouts, stripe outs, gold outs.
It was like when the Cowboys did the playoff game. I think it was the Cowboys 49ers playoff game where we're going to do a whiteout. Gee, I never heard that one before.
But and no matter what you see in other places, it's fine.
They do a great job, but it doesn't compare.
But the original is still the best.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And I know Illinois did it the other day, but they had 15,000 empty seats.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I looked over. You do get numb to it on the road. I remember looking at Auburn last year, like, hey, wow, how about that? That's really great. Right? But I think the blackout, it's a night game.
That's a good point.
I was sitting there like going, okay, well, I look above the stands, it's okay. I look down the stand, I don't see anything. It's like, okay.
Yeah, last year especially. I think Purdue had the blackout last year too, right?
Purdue had a blackout.
Yeah.
Like,
it was a night game.
Okay, it's a night game.
Yeah.
Great, it sticks out. Okay.
Yeah, and again, further shows how brilliant the idea was.
Guido came up with the idea, and then what they did was they handed out T-shirts.
Yep.
To the student section, 2004 for the game with Purdue. The next year, they did the same thing with Ohio State.
Yeah.
And they did everything for that. Penn State came in 5-0. They had the big win at Northwestern, where Michael Robinson and Isaac Smoko over the middle on a 4th and 15 for 20 yards. And Derek Williams scored his first career touchdown on an all-out blitz by Northwestern, and Mike found him. And then the next week, people forget the next week. Minnesota came in ranked 17th in the country, and Penn State clobbered them.
Absolutely.
I mean, clobbered them. It was like,
if I remember correctly.
Ran them out of the building.
Yeah.
You're looking around saying, you know what, this is a pretty good football team.
Yeah.
And then it set up
the
Ohio State game.
Magical night. Absolutely.
And when they played Zombie Nation, and everybody's jumping up and down. And remember, it was kind of a chilly, raw.
Yeah, it was
night.
rainy. Yeah, there was a little bit of rain really through the day. Remember, game day was here that day. That was back when game day was still over at the Jordan Center, and it was there was definitely rain.
And they're jumping up and down, and the press box starts to kind of move. We're in a commercial break, and Jack Ham looks over at me and he says, "Hey, Steve, are we okay up here?" I said, "Jack, I'm an announcer, not an engineer. No clue." I said, I couldn't tell you in a million years if we're okay up here. We'll just have to hang in and see.
Yeah, that was as loud. You go back. I go back to 2002 with Nebraska.
That was loud.
That was that environment to me was as loud. I think that was 18 years. Well, 8 years. Jeez, 18. Well, could be 18. Why not? 8 years of frustration of Penn State fans that night, without a doubt.
Wow.
You look at that spot
when Richard Gardner picked off the pass,
the pick six, and then
Jamal Lords. The place was insane.
It rumbled. It was. You go back. I think that whole sequence. I want to say Lord fumbled 2 plays prior.
He did,
and didn't call it. They missed one there, and then Richard Gardner picks off the pass, goes into the end zone, makes it a 26-7 game, and that was just absolutely stadium rumbling. And I remember that night thinking, will they ever break this attendance record? Oh, they've broken a few times now. Yeah. And it's just that night. And
they've broken the attendance record with 800 fewer seats in the stadium.
Exactly.
Because remember, they, for ADA, they had to pull out 800 seats in the bottom 3 levels to do it, which is the right thing to do. But I'm just saying that. And there's an enthusiasm for this team that's been a lot of fun to see. You had 110,747 for West Virginia.
Yeah.
You had over 108. Obviously, that's going to be. 108. That's tickets sold.
Right.
I got that. But
still
when you're sitting up in the box, that was okay. There weren't. You didn't look around. Maybe some people spread out a little bit more, but there weren't empty seats.
No, absolutely not. No, it's absolutely great atmosphere, and that's your week really, where you're just coming off that high Labor Day weekend. You maybe canceled your plans. You came here. That's your chance. You know what? We'll take a week off. Nobody did. They didn't do it.
They didn't.
And that's
okay.
That's the unbelievable part, and I see no reason why it's not going to be the same October 13th, October 14th when UMass comes here.
Right, the homecoming.
The homecoming. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and that's
I guess you were denied being the Grand Marshal again.
Well, they said my car wasn't up to inspection. That's.
I keep telling you shouldn't. Don't even apply.
Yeah, I keep trying. I keep trying to live the dream, and then nope.
You put in an extensive resume.
I know.
Right? You make
on good paper.
Right? And not only that, and then I think you thought like a forged Kyle Shanahan signature on a letter would help you.
And it made it worse. It's made it completely worse.
Forged Brock Purdy signature.
They literally said, "You did what to Robbie Gould? Get out of here."
I know you keep trying to be the Grand Marshal. It's not working. It's not working.
I actually had somebody, and this was a station in North Carolina one time, called me and asked me, do I do personal appearances when I Grand Marshal a parade? I said, what? I said, I don't know where you got my oil. First of all, I'm honored, but where did you get my name and how? Who?
So, in the end, why did they ask you?
I don't know. I really don't.
You still don't know why they asked you?
No, I to this day.
They never said?
They said they heard me, and they liked what they heard, and they were really, I got a following there. I'm thinking, how do I have a following in Laurinburg, North Carolina? This was probably, oh my goodness, 15 years ago by now, but I'm thinking, what on earth?
Were they willing to pay for anything?
I don't know.
Transportation?
I have no idea. I should have asked. I probably should have gone further.
Down.
Yeah.
Right? Who knows? Yeah. Maybe, for all you know, Metallica was playing there that way.
They might have played. We're in Charlotte at least, maybe. Yeah.
What? They won't play Little Towns?
No, not anymore. Back then, maybe. Not anymore, they don't.
So they become arrogant.
They become Hulk Hogan. They pretty much do the big cities only. Yep, for the most part. Paul McCartney / Billy Joel / every other major name. They've gotten to that point. Can't deny that.
And how many times have you seen them this year?
This year I've only seen in a year span. Yeah, it was only the MetLife show because I saw them in Pittsburgh at PNC Park. That was last August.
How much money do you think you've spent on Metallica concerts over the years?
Over my lifetime? Oh,
Between
man.
tickets and gas
and food and merchandise. Oh, my goodness.
Merchandise.
Yeah, you're into the thousands. Yeah, I buy a t-shirt usually. Forget about the poster nowadays. The poster people line up 12 hours early for it. No. I'm not that, but I'm a big fan, but I have plenty of posters on my wall. I don't need another one.
You don't know what they look like?
The posters or the fans?
No, I mean the band.
Oh, sure.
What do you need a poster of them for? You already know what they look like.
Well, the poster's usually designed by a local artist or somebody designs an artist. It's a nice poster, numbered to like 250 or whatever, but I'm not going to wait in line 14 hours for it. It's not happening.
So if they were to do a Metallica bobblehead, how many would you get?
They did Metallica bobbleheads. Actually did 4 of them already.
And you have them?
I do have them. Yeah, this was, they released them, I think it was probably 04, 05.
How much were those?
I think I paid $20 a piece. They were about $80. Now they're like $600 on the secondary market, so I'm happy I did. But yeah, they even did a Metallica baseball, Rawlings baseball, actually, Metallica design baseball. That was one of the cooler things. I looked at it first and thought, what do I need this for? I don't really, it looks stupid. And then in hindsight, when you buy it, it's like, that's not bad.
You still bought it?
I bought it. They have Metallica Night with the Giants every year now. They've had that since for I think the last almost decade or so. Because they're from they're from Los Angeles, from the Bay Area now. Right, sure. But it's been successful, and they've released a lot of cool stuff there. Unfortunately, secondary market is too rich for my blood.
You spend thousands of dollars. They play
over my lifetime, yeah, right. Absolutely.
And they play the same songs over and over again.
Now they do. Not so much back in the day. Yeah. One of the first times I saw them was here, back in '97.
Well, at least they cut down on the gas.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I remember telling my my mother, this is the only time I'm going to get to see them in State College. I told her a lie because they came back in 2018. Did not think they would, but props to Bernie Punt because he brought them back.
Do you think they came back because of you?
No, they probably not.
You sure?
I'd love to take some credit, but
why not?
I think I could take some credit. But I think they've gotten to the point now with Stranger Things played Master of Puppets, which was their second biggest song, I think. Enter Sandman's obviously their biggest mainstream. But once they played that, I think the young audience got into them in a big way. So now I think Metallica's level is not Taylor Swift, but it's pretty big. And fans are lining up 72 hours early to get a floor seat or to sit on the floor. I don't do the floor anymore. I'm too old. I used to. No, I get the seats nowadays.
Boy, it's amazing what experience does in life.
Oh, there's no doubt.
So we're going to replace 49 good San Francisco seconds with the Metallica
there you go.
Conversation.
Sounds today. Like a plan.
Tomorrow we'll have Neil Coulong on the show.
All right.
And we'll have Donnie Collins on the show tomorrow. Okay. Quarterback Club Day, so
yeah.
We'll have our interviews tomorrow.
Nice.
Then I'll get to see you on Thursday. I already have a list of topics not to discuss with you based on today's show. State Eye plays whom this week?
Central Dauphin on the road.
Ooh,
yeah,
game.
Should be an interesting game.
Yeah. All right. And Jersey Shore won last night.
How about it? Yeah, that's your heart goes out to all of them this week. Absolutely, and it's and Tom Gravish did a great job with that community.
I'm not surprised. Tom's a good man.
Yeah, Tom absolutely did a great job. And I made this point on Saturday, and we announced it on the air, unfortunately. And I think, to me, what's special about high school football, and you've made this point too, is just how much it brings everybody together.
Yeah.
It brings the community together, brings everybody together. But something like this brought not only Jersey Shore together, brought the entire state of Pennsylvania together, wearing orange at the games. It was just a special moment, and you hope you honored Max as much as you possibly could. And understood, hopefully, everybody was able to understand the appreciation and respect and the sadness, obviously, that came in.
The two teams took a knee on the first play of the game for a delayed game.
Yeah.
Out of respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Back tomorrow as we continue here